Ft.Cimooooo! What's going on, everyone? My name is Cimo, and today I'm going to be bringing to you a Satellaknight deck profile. So, first of all, big shout-outs to Team Judgment Yu-Gi-Oh! For letting me post this on his channel. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. Satellaknights are such an amazing deck right now, and I just wanted to share my build with everyone, just to see kind of how the deck works, and yeah, we'll just go ahead and get right into it. So, 3 copies of Satellaknight Deneb. Deneb is your Stratos of the deck. So when he's summoned, you get to add any Satellaknight monster from your deck to your hand. And he complements so well with our next monster, Satellaknight Altair. Altair is basically a Coach Soldier Wolfbark, but his effect is on summon, not ignition. So when he's summoned, you can special summon another Tellarknight monster from your graveyard in face-up defense position. Now, on top of that, you can only attack with Satellaknight monsters for the rest of the turn when you use this effect. But if the effect gets negated, that effect actually does not apply. So you could attack with anything if his effect gets negated. So this combos so well with Deneb because you can play Altair, get Deneb, and get a search. So it's just such a huge recyclability of this deck. It's crazy. Then we have 3 copies of Satellaknight Ukulele. I just call him Ukulele just because it's really funny. Ukulele is basically your Foolish Burial. So when he's summoned, you get to pitch one from your deck to the graveyard. Most of the time, you're going to want to send Deneb, because then you can set up for Altair plays later on. You could also send, really anything else you want. But it's also optional, so you don't have to send anything if you really don't want to. Then we have 2 copies of Satellaknight Vega. Vega is like your Pollux, your Caster, whatever you want to compare him to. When he's summoned, he allows you to summon another Satellaknight monster from your hand. So a cool combo is you can do Satellaknight Vega, summon an Altair from your hand, and then special summon a Deneb from your graveyard, and then you get to search out from your deck. So really potent card. To round out the Satellaknight monsters, we have 1 copy of Satellaknight Alsam. Now, Alsam is very debatable in how well he works, because I feel like Alsam is a separate win condition, because say your opponent is playing very conservative and forcing you to play very defensively, you can just abuse Alsam, because when he's summoned, he burns your opponent for 1,000. So you can just keep exceeding with Alsam, and then use, say, Altair to keep bringing him back from the graveyard to keep continually burning your opponent for 1,000 life points. And this card wins games. So I feel like running him at 1 is really key to the deck. Finally, we run 2 copies of Traptrix Myrmilio. Myrmilio is really good because it is also an on-summon effect. You get to add a whole card to your hand, which I run only 2 of. And on top of that, when Myrmilio is special summoned from the graveyard, you get to pop a back row. And that's really important right now with cards like Vanity's Emptiness and all these other Floodgate cards being really popular in the meta right now. So that's it for the monsters. On to the spells. 3 copies of Pot of Duality. Now, Pot of Duality you might think contradicts the deck since it's a very special summon heavy deck, but you don't need to go all out every turn. You can play Pot of Duality, search for what you want, and then you can just play more conservatively and then go off next turn once you have your combo pieces. So Pot of Duality is really good just for digging in your deck. Next, I run 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice. I prefer this card over Breakthrough Skill right now because Breakthrough Skill can get wiretapped, Forbidden Chalice cannot. And on top of that, the 400 attack bonus that Forbidden Chalice gives can actually be very important in some situations. Like, for example, if you use Satellaknight Ukulele, who is at 1800 attack, you can go one-on-one with a El Shaddoll Winda powered up with Chalice, so 22 into 22, and you can crash, There are just some elements that makes Forbidden Chalice really good right now. Next, we have 2 copies of MST. This deck loses hard to Floodgate cards, and so main decking the 2 MSTs I feel is really key, just to get those cards out of the way, and you can just simplify the game state. Next, we run 2 copies of Reinforcements of the Army. Nearly every monster in the deck is a warrior, except for Traptrix Myrmilio, so why not have free search power? And then 2 copies of Soul Charge. Soul Charge is amazing since everything in the deck has an on-summon effect. So you can just renew all of your resources, get all the effects of your Satellaknights, and you can also pop some back rows with Myrmilio. So Soul Charge is really strong in this deck. And to round out the spells, 1 copy of Book of Moon, because Book of Moon is an incredible card. On to the traps. 3 copies of Satellaknight Alpha. This, I feel, is the best card in the game right now. It is basically Infernity Barrier that lets you draw a card. I mean, why would you not run this card in 3s? This card is absolutely incredible. This card can stop spell cards, which is one of the only cards in the game that does have that ability at the moment. It can stop trap cards, it can stop monster effects, and it's spell speed 3. So the only way they can stop this card is if they have a Satellaknight Alpha of their own or a wiretap. So I feel this card is so good right now. This is actually the reason I'm playing the deck currently, is because once I read this card, I told myself I'm playing this deck. This card is insane. Next, we have 2 copies of Call of the Haunted. As I mentioned with Soul Charge, everything in your deck is an on-summon effect. So Call of the Haunted is just really good because you can just go into anything and get some sort of advantage out of it. Then we run 2 copies of Dimensional Prison. Obviously, banishing monsters is really key right now, so I feel running the 2D Prison is really solid. These are 2 copies of Time Space Trap Hole. I currently do not have mine at the moment, but these are your Myrmilio targets. And why I feel Time Space Trap Hole is good to run in 2s. First of all, Bottomless Trap Hole is worthless at the moment because it does nothing to Shaddolls, it does nothing to Burning Abyss, and Satellaknight still get their effects even if they get Bottomless. So I feel Bottomless is horrible right now. Time Space Trap Hole is really good because you can stop any extra deck monster. You can stop, Winda, you can stop anything that comes out of the extra deck. You can just send it back at the cost of 1,000 life points. I feel that is a very, very fair card, and it's really incredible. Then we have 2 copies of Wiretap because more counter traps, why not? You want to push your plays through, and yeah, Wiretap's just an incredible card. For the 1-ofs, 1 Compulsory. Compulsory is amazing right now. 1 Solemn Warning, which is staple, and 1 Torrential Tribute, which is also just a good way to just stop your opponent from flooding the field. So that is the main deck. I'm going to quickly go into the extra deck. 2 copies of Satellaknight Deltaros. Deltaros is insane, and you might think going -2 with Deltaros might not be worth it, but this card is nuts, and you need to run 2 because you can go into 2 so easily with this deck. And there's been so many games where I've had 2 on the field at once. It's just absolutely ridiculous. One thing that a lot of people actually don't know, Deltaros is actually an Altair target. So you can summon Altair and re-summon Deltaros. So that's pretty crazy. We have 1 copy of Abyss Dweller, which is pretty obvious. 1 copy of Castel. Castel is just so incredible. Being able to spin back any card or just being able to Book of Moon any card. He's such a versatile extra deck monster. I feel he's staple now that he's been released. 1 Constellar Omega. Constellar Omega is really good because you pretty much have your whole monster lineup can go into him aside from the Myrmilios. And it just allows you to dodge all your opponent's Dimensional Prisons. You might bait out some cards that they might want to just get rid of the Omega from the beginning. So I might bait out a Warning, a Blackhorn, anything like that. Omega is actually really useful. Daigusta Emerald, you want to recycle your monsters, especially once you go through all of your Altairs. Emerald is really important for that. 1 Exciton Knight. This deck can make Exciton Knight so easily, so I don't see why you wouldn't run him just to have him. 1 Cowboy, because Cowboy wins games. 1 Lavable Chain. Lavable Chain is really cool because what you can do is you can go into a Lavable Chain. So say you summon Altair, get out a Deneb, you can search for, say, a Vega, and then you can use Lavable Chain's effect to stack a second Altair from your deck. So then on your next turn, you can go Vega, Altair, Deneb, and then you can go into a Deltaros or really anything. So Lavable Chain has some really cool setup plays. 1 Rhapsody and Berserk for banishing, of course. Heartland Drago. I love Heartland Drago because it steals games, and you can make rank 4 so easily in this deck, so I feel why not. 2 copies of 101 because 101 is an incredible card, and it always will be. 1 copy of Ragna Zero. I was kind of on the fence about this, but then when I realized the interaction that Ragna Zero has with Forbidden Chalice, because you can chalice their monster, negate its effects, it gains the 400 attack, then you can use Ragna Zero's effect to detach, get rid of their monster, and then draw a card. So that's actually really cool. And to wrap it all up, one Starliege Paladynamo. He's actually really cool for just negating really annoying cards on the field. And he'll let you draw when he's destroyed, so hey, why not? So yeah, that is actually the entire deck, guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments about this deck. Let me know any suggestions, how you'd like to improve it, or tell me about your build of your own. Yeah, once again, big shout outs to Team Judgment Yu-Gi-Oh! Thank you so much, and thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.